Think about the last time you bought something online at 2 a.m. A gadget you didn't really need or clothes you'll probably wear twice. In that specific moment, the purchase felt urgent. It felt like your immediate happiness depended on clicking that buy now button. But the next morning, the excitement was completely gone, replaced by that familiar, low level financial guilt. Looking at your bank account, you ask yourself, why do I keep doing this? Here's the thing nobody talks about. This isn't a lack of willpower. You didn't make a conscious, stupid choice to spend that money. You were systematically hacked. Major corporations have spent billions of dollars hiring neuroscientists and behavioral economists to do one specific thing: turn your brain's ancient survival wiring against your wallet. They have built a multi billion-dollar choice architecture designed to keep you in a permanent state of financial defense. Today, we are going to look into the dark psychology of modern consumerism. We aren't going to talk about generic budgeting tips or spreadsheets. We are going to unmask the exact neurological triggers that brands use to bypass your logic, erase the pain of paying, and leave you wondering where your paycheck went before the month even halfway through. To understand how your wallet gets drained, we have to destroy the single biggest myth in popular psychology: the misconception of dopamine. If you ask the average person on the street, they will tell you that dopamine is the pleasure chemical. They think your brain releases a massive flood of it when you eat a slice of pizza, win a bet, or open a beautifully wrapped delivery box from Amazon. But modern neuroscience shows that this is completely wrong. Dopamine is not the neurochemical of satisfaction. It is the neurochemical of anticipation. It is the molecule of craving, the burning agony of desire for the unknown, the next thing, the future reward. There is a famous neurobehavioral study conducted by Dr. Robert Sapolsky at Stanford University that completely changes how we look at spending. He trained monkeys to look at a light signal. When the light turned on, they knew that if they pressed a lever 10 times, they would receive a food treat. Sapolsky measured the dopamine levels in the monkey's brain throughout this process. Crucially, dopamine didn't spike when the monkeys ate the food. The reward itself barely caused a ripple. The massive, towering spike in dopamine happened the exact millisecond the light turned on. It spiked during the chase. It flooded their brains while they were pressing the lever, driven by the intense anticipation of what was coming. But Sapolsky took the experiment a step further. He changed the rules. Instead of giving the food treat 100% of the time, he introduced uncertainty. Now, when the light turned on and the monkeys pressed the lever, they only got the treat 50% of the time. What happened to the dopamine levels? They didn't drop. They skyrocketed to double their original height. The introduction of maybe, the unpredictable, volatile nature of the reward, sent the brain's craving mechanism into absolute overdrive. This is the exact evolutionary glitch that modern retail companies exploit every single second of the day. In our evolutionary past, this chemical circuit kept us alive. If a primitive human was walking through a forest and saw a bush with a few scarce berries, a massive hit of dopamine flooded their brain, whispering, "Keep looking, keep walking, there might be a massive, life-saving berry patch just over that next hill." It was a survival mechanism engineered to force us to explore, forage, and hunt so we wouldn't freeze or starve to death in a cave. Fast forward to 2026. We don't forage for scarce wild berries anymore to survive the winter. Instead, we lay in bed, exhausted after a long workday, mindlessly scrolling through Amazon, TikTok Shop, or Instagram ads. Your brain is running the exact same ancient evolutionary software, but the tech platforms have completely hijacked the hardware. Every single swipe of your thumb up that screen is a literal roll of the roulette wheel. Your brain isn't hooked on the item you might buy. It is completely addicted to the possibility of what the next scroll might reveal. You aren't shopping for products, you are hunting for dopamine. Tech companies and global retail brands understand this biological vulnerability perfectly. They don't leave your spending habits to chance. They have deliberately engineered modern digital storefronts to mirror the exact psychological mechanics of Las Vegas slot machines. Let's look at the infinite scroll feature, originally created for social media, but now standard practice across every major e-commerce app. Aza Raskin, the engineer who built the infinite scroll, has publicly expressed deep regret for inventing it. Why? Because he realized he had created something that systematically breaks human boundaries. In the old days of the internet, if you wanted to look at products, you had to click through page 1, page 2, page 3. Those page numbers served as a psychological speed bump. They forced your conscious brain to pause, take a breath, and evaluate your actions. It was a natural stopping point. The infinite scroll completely eliminates that boundary. There is no friction, no pause, no ending. Your brain is kept in a permanent, uninterrupted state of just one more scroll, waiting for that unpredictable, variable reward. It puts your logical mind into a hypnotic trance where time and financial value lose all meaning. But keeping you scrolling isn't enough. They need to force you to pull the trigger. To do that, they weaponize a behavioral concept known as the scarcity heuristic. Human beings are hardwired to assign a higher value to things that we perceive as rare, limited, or disappearing. When you look at a pair of sneakers online and a flash of red text appears beneath it saying, "Only 2 items left at this price," or 14 other people have this item in their cart right now, your ancient survival brain experiences a microdose of absolute panic. The caveman inside you genuinely believes that the waterhole is drying up, that the berry bush is being stripped by competitors, and that you must act aggressively right now before someone else deprives you of a vital resource. It is entirely artificial panic. The warehouse might have 10,000 pairs of those sneakers sitting in boxes, but by fabricating digital scarcity, the brand forces an immediate emotional reaction, completely bypassing your slow, logical prefrontal cortex. You aren't buying because you genuinely want the sneakers, you are buying because you are terrified of the feeling of losing out. Once they have hooked your dopamine and triggered your fear of missing out, brands face one final massive obstacle: the physical act of you parting with your hard-earned money. In behavioral economics, there is a core concept discovered by professors Drazen Prelek and George Lowenstein known as the pain of paying. When researchers put people into fMRI brain scanners and asked them to look at prices while preparing to pay with physical cold cash, something fascinating happened. The brain scans revealed that handing over physical paper money actually activates the insula. The insula is the exact same region of the human brain that registers physical pain, like stubbing your toe or burning your hand on a stove. Paying with physical cash hurts. You physically feel the loss, you see the wallet getting thinner, you count the bills, and your brain triggers a painful warning signal. Stop. We are losing resources. The ultimate mission of modern corporate design is to completely anesthetize that pain. They want to put your insula to sleep, and they achieve this by pioneering frictionless payments. Think about the evolution of transaction design. We went from counting physical bills, to swiping a credit card, to inserting a chip, to tapping a card, to one-click ordering on Amazon, and finally to modern facial recognition like Apple Pay or automated app checkouts. With Apple Pay, you don't even look at a number or feel a card. You look at your own phone, it reads your face, you hear a friendly little ding, and your money is gone. Every single step in that evolution was designed to remove physical and mental friction. Why? Because the more friction there is in the payment process, the more time your logical brain has to wake up from its dopamine trance and say, "Hey, hold on a second, we can't afford this. This is half our electricity bill." By making spending completely seamless and instant, they bypass the pain of paying entirely. Money is no longer a scarce, tangible resource. It becomes an abstract, invisible, digital digit that disappears without a trace. And this brings us to the ultimate psychological tragedy of the dopamine loop, the post-purchase crash. Because dopamine is entirely about the anticipation of the chase and not the reward itself, the exact millisecond you click confirm order, your dopamine levels don't just return to baseline, they crater far below it. The thrill is instantly dead. By the time that beautifully packaged cardboard box arrives at your house 3 days later, opening it doesn't feel like a victory. It feels like a chore. The item you desperately craved at 2 a.m. is thrown onto a bedroom shelf, completely forgotten within 48 hours. And because your dopamine has crashed below baseline, your brain immediately enters a state of deficit. It feels restless, bored, and empty. So what do you do to fix it? You pick up your phone, open the shopping app, and start hunting for the next fix. This is how people earning 6-figure salaries still find themselves living paycheck to paycheck. They aren't buying items because they like them. They are buying items because they are hopelessly addicted to the brief, temporary relief from the neurological craving. So, how do you win a game where the multi-billion-dollar rules are completely rigged against your survival? You don't try to fight your biological nature. You don't waste energy trying to magically alter your brain chemistry or rely on pure willpower. Willpower is a finite resource, and by 2 a.m., it is completely depleted. Instead, you win by changing your environment. If corporations made their fortunes by removing friction from your spending, you protect your wealth by deliberately putting that friction back in. Step one is the immediate deletion of convenience. Go into your smartphone settings, your browser settings, and your e commerce profiles and completely erase your saved credit cards and autofill payment data. Turn off Apple Pay for online shopping. Force your future self to physically stand up, find your wallet, pull out that piece of plastic, and manually type in those 16 digits, expiration date, and security code every single time you want to buy something online. It sounds incredibly simple, but behavioral data shows that in over 50% of cases, your natural human laziness will completely outrun your emotional shopping impulse. The mere barrier of having to type numbers gives your logical prefrontal cortex exactly enough time to wake up, look at the screen, and break the hypnotic dopamine spell. Step 2 is implementing a strict 72-hour quarantine rule. When you are online and find an item that you desperately believe will change your life, you are allowed to add it to your shopping cart. You don't have to deprive yourself, but you are absolutely forbidden from hitting the buy button for exactly 72 hours. During those 3 days, you close the app and step away. What you are doing here is allowing the neurological dopamine loop to naturally cool down and reset. You are waiting out the biological spike. Spoiler alert, in 80% of cases, when the 72 hours are up, you will look at that open cart and realize you don't even want the item anymore. You'll completely forget it even existed because the anticipation loop is broken. The ultimate goal of master financial psychology isn't to live like a monk, deprive yourself of every modern comfort, and never buy anything fun again. The goal is to stop letting highly optimized algorithms make your financial and life decisions for you. Every single day, you are paying a heavy cognitive tax. When your mental bandwidth is permanently occupied by low-level financial stress and the endless cycle of craving and regret, you lose the processing power required to make great long-term decisions in your career, your investments, and your relationships. Take control of your dopamine environment. Stop playing their game on their terms. Reintroduce friction, claim your mental bandwidth back, and move your financial life from defense to absolute offense. I'll see you in the next one.